welcome back to an episode of The Mind of Reese. Holy moly, I'm getting ready for New York, and I'm leaving tomorrow. By the time you listen to this, I will already be in New York for Worthy, Wealthy, Creative, for my first in-person retreat-style seminar happening at Ink Magazine's headquarters, Inked NYC. I'm really, really excited about this seminar. But that's not what we're talking about today. Today we are going to be getting into the 4 mindset shifts to make running your tattoo business more easeful. Never said it's easy, but it's more easefully. You can run your business from an easeful place within. This podcast is always all about trying to create that balance between the masculine and the feminine, and really just creating balance within your life and within your business. And how we do that is really, it's a lot of internal shifts. And, that's what I teach a lot of. It's all internal and external, how we can maneuver both and take action from a place that is really aligned from our soul. Because the more aligned that we get with who we are, getting to know ourselves from a level of like depth, like such depth of knowledge toward our own being, toward our truest, highest self, is going to align us to take the type of action that we can make in the material world in order to get to where we want to go, in order to collapse time from where we are and where it is we want to be. And so, yeah, basically everything I teach in pretty much all of my programs, always, including WWC. Don't forget to sign up. And so we will be talking about the 4 mindset shifts that will basically help. And I'd done a post about this. We'd also had sent out an email, and we got such great feedback on it that I wanted to elaborate a little further. So number 1, the goal is not happiness. Happiness is where you start, not where you finish. So I look at this really from a perspective of inward. Like, let's go inward, because of the fact that I had someone comments like, no, happiness is the goal. I'm always trying to achieve more happiness within my life. And I see the point. I see where she was going with it. But do you notice the narrative where it's like, happiness is outside of me? So like, listen to the words that you're thinking and even saying out loud is like, oh, like really get clear on how you see happiness or how you see fulfillment. Because for me, fulfillment is really the goal. Happiness is fleeting. Fulfillment, like when I say that word, if you say that word out loud and you just feel it in the body, it just feels deep and it feels juicy and it feels expanding, like in my belly region. Like I could just feel this sense of expansion in my energy when I feel fulfilled. When I feel happy, it feels a little bit, surface level, maybe superficial. And happiness, regardless, is a feeling. So let's look at it like this. My experience to life is going to be a different experience to someone else's life. My experience to something trifling, a roller coaster. One person's going to look at a roller coaster and be like, fuck yeah, this makes me so happy, I'm so excited. Another person's going to look at a roller coaster and say that looks like it's going to make me sick, I'm fucking nervous. Another person's just plain scared. So their experience to the same roller coaster ride is all going to be unique to the person themselves. So if my experience is dictated by how I perceive it, then that means that I have the control to create the feeling I want in my body at any given moment. And if I decide to experience something as shitty, as fucked up, as hard, or as happy or fun or easeful, I get that choice. And the best part about it is that I get that choice. I get the choice. You're saying that I get to control how I'm feeling? Absolutely. It doesn't necessarily mean that our reactions to things aren't going to be of some type of way, because the reactions that we have are intrinsic to who we are, as what we identify as, because of the experiences we had in our lifetime. But we do get to have that sacred pause and notice what's happening and see if that's the emotional response that we really want to be having in that moment. So that's the best part about the sacred pause. Just because you're feeling a feeling doesn't mean it's wrong, and just because you felt a feeling that you thought wasn't the right feeling, quote unquote, doesn't mean it's wrong. It means that you've experienced life, that you're a human, and we get to make the choice to let it unseat us for the rest of the day, the week, the month, the year, or we get to take the pause and choose something different. And so when I look at happiness, happiness is something intrinsic. It's not something conditional to something outside of me. And that's why I love that so much, because then that means that I get the choice to choose what makes me happy. I get the choice to choose what makes me really fucking fulfilled. And if I'm going to start with that fulfillment first, I'm going to lead in alignment to my highest self, to my highest purpose, to my soul's purpose. Because of the fact that I'm leading with love, I'm leading with desire. That's what we're trying to do here. We're not trying to look outside of myself for happiness. Well, once I get there, I will be happy. Well, once I get this, I will be happy. Well, once I hit this X amount of dollars a month, I will be happy. It's like, no, that's not quite how it works, especially when it comes to magnetism. Magnetism is where we land on a frequency before the thing and then magnetize the same things on that frequency to us. That's how magnetism works. If I'm going to be upset for not being happy and put all my, eggs in a basket of this thing making me happy, and then finally getting the thing and it actually not making me that happy, and then me upping the goal. It's like financial income, financial stuff. Like, I've never had a problem really reaching my financial goals. That's always been a thing for me. I've always put my identity around, like, I am good at making money. And so it was never hard for me to continuously extend and get to the financial goal that I always see myself doing. And every time I think that a certain number is going to do it for me, it's going to make me happy, it's going to make me fulfilled, I always find myself happy, stoked, definitely grateful, but always running over that gratitude for a bigger, better number. Because I'm like, okay, I did it, now next. And it's never reveling in the moment of that happiness or reveling in that moment of fulfillment, because that's not what's actually fulfilling me. The fulfillment piece comes from the journey, not necessarily from the outcome. The outcome is just the fun part, that cherry on top of the journey. And so once you can kind of realize this, then it's like, well, what makes me fulfilled right now? And if what making me fulfilled right now is going to lead me to more fulfillment, I'm going to do that. Instead of be like, well, this person says that that's what makes them happy, I want that. I'm going to put all my eggs in that basket of that's what, success, happiness, fulfillment looks like. And I won't be that until I get there. See, that seems like a very arduous, hard journey to be on, because at the end of the day, the thing you're doing isn't actually making you happy. It's just making you, pointing you in a direction where you think something is going to create the outcome of happiness. And the only way that we can actually create the feeling of happiness is in the body. So if I have that control to say this fulfills me, this is what makes me happy, I'm going to continuously be on that every day. I'm going to wake up saying, how good can it get? I'm going to wake up every day saying, today's going to be the best motherfucking day. Regardless if it's the best day or not, I just woke up. We don't even know yet, but I'm going to make that intention right then and there. And the moments that that it unseats me, something happens, I react, I have an emotional response, that doesn't feel as good as the happiness or fulfillment. How can that be okay too? Right? Because it's the fulfillment in the journey. Who am I being as I'm moving in this life? Who do I want to be? I don't attract what I want, I attract who I am. If I'm attracting who I am, that means that I have to understand who I am in order to really unearth all the parts of myself that really may show me what exactly it is I really fucking want, over letting Joe Schmo over here tell me what I think I want or what success looks like. So this is really the biggest embodiment piece and mindset piece. It's really just about looking within for that happiness. Happiness starts now. We didn't get into this business because we thought that one day it'd make us happy. We were like, fuck yeah, I want to draw on people. I'm doing this. Like, this is why I'm doing this. Like, this makes me happy right now. We just lose it along the way because we expect new things to constantly be happening and for us not to have any obstacles as we run through our life and business. And so we got to remember that there's always going to be moments in business that's going to be up and down. And how can we really just look at the fulfillment piece of it all? It's like, that's like finding your intrinsic why. It's like, my why is what fulfills me now. That's why I'm moving in this direction. And the challenges that come with it are going to continue to fulfill me because I know that I am living in my highest alignment. Okay, so number 2 would be, it's not about never having any problems. It's about mastering your abilities to deal with them. Like I said, ebbs and flows of business. This is never not going to happen. You are always going to have something ebbing and flowing. Always, always. If you think that somehow it just stops, like, you're in the wrong business, baby, and I'm in the business of life. There is no such thing. Like, I feel like I have the best romantic relationship I've ever had in my life. He is the love of my life. That is a thing. But there are still moments where it gets hard, not between me and him, but between me and my perception of him. And the thing he said to me the other day, which was so beautiful, was that he said to me, he goes, I love how self-aware you are. I've never met anybody so self-aware. And that's my mastery. That's like I want that. I desire growth and mastery in this. Like, I desire to know myself so well so that I can almost, put myself in therapy with me and me. That's the way it goes. So the other day I was having an issue around us wanting to live together. And it was one of those things where I was like, well, he was like, I just want a little more time to myself. I just moved to America, this and that. And there was this little gremlin in my mind telling me, he doesn't want to live with me. He doesn't want to be with me. He's going to change his mind. And I was creating a problem when there wasn't a problem. We had a really good conversation. But what I realized was I still had stuff on my chest after the conversation. So I went, I just was like, instead of me picking a fight with him and creating a problem, let me go ahead and, seek this out, see what's happening in my body. What does my little girl want? Why does she feel so alone? Why does she feel so afraid? Of course she feels afraid. It's the unknown. He could totally leave me and it would suck. And that's what I'm gearing myself up to happen. You know what I mean? And so what's funny about the problems, it's like, number 1, let's ask ourselves the question, is there a real problem or are we creating problems? We are so good at complicating things as humans. So in that moment, I realized, I was like, this isn't the problem. I'm creating the problem. Like, so I go to him, I have a good conversation, we have communication. He's looking at me and he's like, I'm so in love with you. Like, I love you so much, and I'm looking at him and I'm just like, I understand, having, basically a 10-year desire and dream to move to California, and you're finally here, and you've met a girl, and although you're stoked on it, I understand wanting that individual time. And even for myself, I'm like, Reese, you love living by yourself, you love it. Like, are we pushing the timelines because we feel like we have to, or are we pushing the timelines because that's what other people are saying we should do? And there's a part of me that I'm so excited to move in with him, but there's also the part of me that's like, I can flirt with the waiting. Like, I can also, because I know that it's like the rest of my life. And if that ends up not being the case, then we'll deal with that when we deal with that. But the thing is that am I is there an actual problem, or am I creating a problem for an experience I'm hypothetically expecting in the future? So that's often what's happening in our minds, is that we are actually creating problems for an experience that has never happened yet. And that is more the problem. That is the problem more often than an actual problem. An experimental, engineer, scientific problem. Okay? Because if we're going to look at it from like a perspective of like, okay, content. This thing worked, this thing doesn't. What works best for what I want? What is the goal? If I really want to look at my marketing aspect from a experimental lens, then I go at it like a scientist and I go at it like an engineer. We have a goal. The goal is XYZ. I experiment with this piece of content. We see how it does. Did it meet the goal? Yes or no? No? Okay, what's the next experiment? What's the next experiment? What's the next experiment? It's like, that's how we can really solve problems. Like, that's the whole point. It's so funny because Scientists and engineers they love the journey of solving the problem. They love the journey of the experiment. They love the journey of practicing the thing and tweaking it just a little just to see the difference in what happens. And that's what we all should be like, because the journey there's no destination. Our business is always going to have ebbs and flows, and so there's always going to be this experimental part. Yes, of course, there's going to be parts of our business where we're going to get to know it really well, like tattooing. We've practiced tattooing over and over and over again. I'm really good. I can do tattooing practically without even thinking at this point, but at the same time, I still am practicing tattooing. I'm still getting better at my craft even after 12 years. It might not be as hard as it was in the beginning, like getting clients. It might not be as hard as it was in the beginning, but there's still moments in my life where things ebb and flow. And so this is where an actual problem resides. So make sure that there's an actual problem there. Make sure that you actually stepped in, you posted the thing, you did the thing. There's an actual problem for you to solve over creating a problem in your mind of a hypothetical thing that hasn't even happened yet. We create so many problems because we expect 10 different outcomes, unfavorable outcomes that we don't want happening. And all of a sudden we're creating problems and we're trying to create solutions for all of these problems that are not even real. And that's the thing. It's like, how do I have the ability to deal with my own mind? Not even an actual real problem outside of me. Because again, a problem is choice. We have one person over here being like, I have no business. I have no clients. I've been trying to do this for, a year, 2 years, whatever it might be, and I have no clients and it's not working and I don't know what to do. And that could be a problem for them. But for this entrepreneur over here, a very male capitalist entrepreneur here, he's like, well, this isn't working, scrap it, start over. Let me do something different. He might look at it as not a problem. He might look at it as like, okay, this isn't working, I'm gonna scrap the whole idea. So he's just more like, it's like there's two different ways to take this situation. And so what do we want to do? Do we want to be proactive about it, or do we want to be maladaptive? Do we want to put ourselves in a position where we're in victim, or do we put ourselves in a position it's like, okay, what can I actually solve? Do I do something else? Do I try different advertising techniques? Do I do something else on the social medias? Do I get another job? Do I throw it in the towel and start something new? Like, what is it what do I get to do here? Like this is the problem solving. That's like that. Here's the problem solving aspect of this. But then on this side, it's like, unfortunately, when we go into it thinking that it's like the experience of the problem, it unseats us and it puts us into victim mentality, that's definitely going to close ourselves off to the opportunities of how to solve the issue. Okay? And so we really got to climb out of that maladaptive experience to our problems. It's like we can't take our problems so personally sometimes, and even though it can be so personal, and I don't want to negate the fact that it can be so personal. But then there is that moment where, can we separate ourselves? Can we hold a duality of, yes, I'm taking this personal, but yes, I do see the other side, that it's not so personal, and that I'm meant to be going through this because of a reason, and that I'm not seeing the opportunities here, especially if I know that this is meant for me. Or am I trying this I'm thinking that this is supposed to work because this is all I've got? So there are so many really deep questions that we should be asking ourselves all of the time. I want you guys to get really used to asking yourselves these questions in order for you to really up level in getting to know who you are, because your experience is going to be so defined by your experience to self, your relationship to self, your relationship to your problems, your relationship to your experiences, your relationship to social media, to your business, to your life. Everything in your life is a relationship. How you deal with them, mastering those capabilities and how you deal with them will always come back to self. Always. That's why when you look at, people that have high autism or Asperger's or something of that nature, you notice that they're like, they just don't see the intrinsic personal problem to the problem. They just see, okay, the scientific basis of like, okay, well, here's here's a problem. Here's one solution. That solution didn't work. Here's try this another solution. It's just they don't take it personal. And so you almost see it almost as like heartless or emotionless. But actually, that's not that they don't have any emotions. It's that they just don't understand it from the lens of victim sometimes. Just depends on what we're talking about. Now, the only reason why I bring this up is because I'm not only reading a book based off this, but I've been watching a show called Lessons in Chemistry. And it's just like this scientist woman, just so smart and genius. And you're just like, wow, like she has problems, but she deals with them in a different way. She finds the solution. Now, do I say that like there's only one way to do this? No, I definitely, for me, I want you to go move through the emotion and understand yourself well enough to understand like, okay, am I in victim or am I in creator consciousness? Am I in victim consciousness or am I in creator consciousness? Do I really want to get out of this or do I want to feel sorry for myself? No wrong answer. I want to feel sorry for myself sometimes. Like, don't get it twisted, and I will. I'll allow myself to have a little baby temper tantrum for sure. And if that has to go on for a couple days, cool beans. I'll probably be smoking some weed at the same time. I mean, like, that's like, for me, that's you know, like, it's going to happen. Like, I know that about me, but I also know that, like, I'm not going to stay stuck there. I just know I won't. I'm just not that person. I don't want to stay stuck there. And sometimes we find ourselves not trying to be a victim because we're so afraid we'll stay stuck in that depressive era. But we are seasonal creatures. We're allowed to have seasons. I'm not a robot. You're not a robot. So remember, it's not about having no problems. It's just about your how you deal with them. It's your mastering the abilities to deal with them. Okay? And number 3, you're not stressed because you're doing too much. You're stressed because you're doing too little of what makes you feel most alive and aligned. I like to live in the leadership of the yeses and the nos. If it's not a fuck yes, it's a fuck no. If I'm not like full body yes, it's get the fuck out energy. You know what I mean? Like I live in discipline. Like that's how I got here. My masculine energy is a gangsta. I love him. He holds me even when it's wounded masculine. He holds me in the doing. He holds me accountable to get shit done. And it's like he's just supporting the part of my feminine who's like, well, I'm in flow, let's keep going, and I'm going to force the flow. And it's not that I'm like too masculine. There's never too much of anything. It's more just like wounded. There's a wounded part of my feminine who wants to be in flow all of the time. And then there's also this part of me where that flow is like overdoing it because my masculine wants to support my feminine, wants to support the queen. So I'm based on the discipline. It's like, of course I'm going to do. Like that's what I want. You know what I mean? But sometimes I don't stop to ask myself if it actually is aligned with what I want. Or am I aligned with what I want? Or is the thing I want actually what I want anymore? And this is where we stop and go. We go slower, we go faster. Like these are these like moments where we have so much momentum, then we slow down. And this is the seasonal aspect of us. Like we're allowed to be in season. So when you are in, you know, just making sure you're constantly asking yourself, realigning back to your why, realigning if the why is what you want. You know, every time I do Inspired Academy, I redo the entire course so that I can make sure that I'm fully inundated with the information. So when I teach it in the live classes, I'm there for my students and allowing them to, you know, like I'm fully present with what they're going through at the moment. And every time I redo it, I'm like, yeah, are my values the same? Are these the same? Like my mission and message and my movement shift and morph all of the time as I grow, but they've shifted a lot in the last 2 years, especially last 3 years, especially ever since I became a coach and ever since I started doing this podcast and ever since I started, you know, really stepping into a mentor role. And then, you know, then it started with the spirituality as a little bit of spirituality. Then it became like full send spirituality. Then it was just like touching on, you know, so much, you know, tactic around like social media. And then I stopped with that. And then I'm back on the tactic. It's like these things ebb and flow. And so I'm always constantly asking myself the foundational questions of like, is this my why? Am I still following into my alignment? Is it still what I want? And sometimes I got to get really honest. Sometimes I'm like, yes, it is. And then I know where I'm resisting because I don't want to have to change anything. Because I'm like, please, can I just have this moment where I just stay the same for a little bit? But that's not actually what I want. I know the universe knows me better than I know me. And then I know my highest self knows me better than I know me. And she's like, bro, didn't you ask for growth? I mean, your soul was put on this planet for you to grow because you're in this iteration of yourself. We've done this probably 10 other times. Personally, I think I've most likely lived about 10 other lives, and we're now just here in this moment getting, young Reese, young soul, getting this moment where I'm actually following in my highest alignment, because that's what my soul's purpose has been for the last 10 lifetimes. However, I'm just getting here now. I think it's taken me, like, I bet you the first 5 years were like just drilling it into my head and me dying at the very end, not even knowing anything about soul's alignment. And then the last like 5 have been like, okay, we were getting younger and younger and younger. So it's like, this is where we're at, it's like, I want to constantly be asking myself and having the question near and dear to my heart, is this always in my soul's alignment? What am I doing this for the money, or am I doing this for joy? Am I doing this because my ancestral and generational bloodlines are going to dictate what it is that I want, what it is I think I want, the experiences that I've had, the ones that I've accumulated over my lifetimes. It's like I have to actually continuously ask and not react in a way that's past reaction. That's a past self reaction, where I'm like still focused on present and future self reactions now. I'm like, yes, I live on 3 different timelines, the past, the present, and the future. But at the same time, it's like, do I want to be making decisions from a past version of myself? From like, it doesn't matter if it's like the 36 years of myself that I've experienced in this particular vessel and lifetime. It could also mean all the past lives that I've had. I want to continuously be growing from that. So I want to continuously be asking myself the questions, is this in my highest alignment? Does this still align with what I want? Is this still what I want? So yeah, I know that stress is going to come regardless. Like, I'm going to have stress no matter what, but I'd rather be stressed doing the thing I fucking love. I'd rather wake up every day being stressed, like, holy shit, I got so much on my plate, but all the things I love doing. Today, that I felt like that. Today I was like, oh my God, I got to get ready for New York. I got to drop my dog off. I've got 2 meetings in the mornings with my inner circle artist and then Inspired Academy. I've got this podcast that I really wanted to do. All of these things that are coming up to me, and I'm just like, okay, blah, 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 blah. I got to get these things done. I've got WWC. I got to make sure that's done. We're really, really creative. I'm making all these things. It's just, there's so much. There's always going to be so much to do. You're an entrepreneur. Your to-do list is going to be 5 miles long. So for me, it's like, well, I won't even get into the time management aspect of that. But for me, it's like, okay, is this really what I want to be doing? Fuck yes, it is. Fuck yes, it is. I'm stoked. I'm stoked I have this much on my plate because I'm loving every little thing I do. I love to make impact. I love to create valuable content. This is my thing. Yes, sometimes it's going to feel like a lot, and I'm going to devote myself to making sure I do it because that's what I did. I'm so devoted to me. I'm devoted to creating the security and trust within myself in order for me to move forward. Because the thing is that the moment that I say, hey, these are my to-do list, I'm telling myself, you can rely on me to get shit done. How devoted am I to myself to commit to the things and be the woman of my word? Now, there are obviously things that are going to fall to the wayside, and if I don't have time for certain things, that's okay. But at the end of the day, did I devote myself fully to myself? Did I commit to myself fully? And that question also goes, it's like, was this a priority? No? Okay, then that goes on tomorrow or the next week's to-do list. Like, this podcast was the last thing on the list. I was like, I got so much to do, but if I have the time, I will do it. And I did, so I'm doing it. So it was like one of those things, but I'm so committed. It's like I'm so committed to self, not only committed to my to-do list and to my business, but I'm committed to myself. So I committed to, like, if I'm stressed, am I stressed in the things that I want to be stressed in? Like, we're always going to experience stress in our businesses because that's what being an entrepreneur is about. It doesn't have to be super stressful. It doesn't have to be anxious, but we have to understand, like, am I still aligned with the things that I want? And if I am, is it okay to have this, like, healthy little pressure? for me to get shit done. Okay, and lastly, the lessons you struggle with will repeat itself until you learn them. Okay. This is basically the same thing as like the universe is going to give you the lessons you need in order to up level. So every time I ask the universe, I want more wealth, I want more clients, I want more freedom, I want more money, all this stuff. There are lessons to becoming the up-leveled leader to get me to that point. Case in point, you can't avoid it. You want more of something you want, understand that that's going to come with up-levelments and uncomfortability that you might not want. And so when we can just know that the experiences, the obstacles that are in your way, the obstacles that are happening and really just, coming to a head, know that those obstacles are actually the parts and the opportunities that are getting you to where you want to go. You just don't see it that way because you think of things as linear and not needing to grow in order to get what you want. But unfortunately, that's just not the case. Like, I truly believe the universe is actually giving me exactly what I asked for. It's just not in the way that I think I'm meant to get it. Like, yeah, sure, I want an extra 40 grand. It's not going to just be delivered into my bank account. There's going to be opportunities for me to get there. But sometimes that means those opportunities mean I have to up level. I have to put myself out there. I actually have to make phone calls. Oh my gosh, I have to take sales calls. Oh my goodness. Like, I have to talk on the phone with someone and tell them why it's, or I got to offer them something. I want passive income. It's like all of these things that we desire. Some desire require a level of commitment and a level of uncomfortability and up-levelment. When you started tattooing, you were like, yeah, I want to be a tattooer. But the moment you put, needle to skin, you were fucking scared. And you were like, fuck. And remember the first time you messed up? I mean, I remember that one where I almost didn't want to tattoo ever again. I was like, fuck. But you had to do the brave thing. You had to do something you didn't, you had to do the bravery thing over and over again in order to create that confidence for you to continuously step into the next iteration of who you desire to be, the level of tattooer, the creative that you desire to be. And so it's like, you're going to learn this lesson over and over and over again, especially if the thing that you want is in your highest alignment. And mine as well, instead of trying to avoid it, is to learn it. It's like comparison online or judgment from the online space. When you get judgment from the online space, people judge you for the thing. You avoid it by either deleting the message or, flipping them off or whatever it might be, or you make yourself wrong for feeling that feeling. You're going to continuously find yourself in experiences where those feelings still come up, where it's like rejection, the feeling of rejection, for instance, when someone judges you for posting something online that you knew was like, ooh, this is edgy. And someone, validated that edginess and said, I can't believe you just fucking posted this. And you're like, oh my God, that shadow that comes up, that's an obstacle. And when that obstacle comes up, do you push it down, try to avoid it, tell yourself, fuck that guy, whatever, and then try to forget about it? Or do you go in there, see what the issue is, talk to the part of yourself that's like, hey, this is a shadow, and this is something we've been dealing with for a very long time. I'm so glad this finally came up, because I know that in order for me to up level and to continuously be the fullest expression of myself, I'm going to need to unearth these parts of me, these parts of these like little, shadow gremlins that are creating this sense of safety around not showing up in that way. But I know that if I do show up in that way, I'm going to get to where I want to go. Right? So it's like we have to deal with those obstacles. And those obstacles are mostly internal. Those obstacles aren't necessarily external. When it came to, if you guys have been listening to my podcast episode for the last few months, when it came to me and my old landlord before I moved into my new space, I mean, it's already a lot of dysregulation and a lot of stress and stuff like that comes with just moving shops and, putting all this money into a new shop and really revamping it and, getting new artists and things like this. But it's another thing to have that stress and then have someone tell you that they're basically going to sue you for money that they say that they owe you. And so having to get a lawyer and deal with that situation, you know, even though that was an external obstacle, it was the way I walked myself through it that I learned so much from. Yes, I had my moments of crying, and yes, I had my moments of defeat, but then I got back up and I was like, okay, who do I want to be in this moment? Am I going to give my power away to this woman? Is money really the thing I'm going to cry over because I have to spend so much of it in order to get this lady to leave me alone? You know? And I was like, no. And I even said to myself, I was like, if this woman decides that she's going to sue me, I am going to countersue. I'm not going to let this go because I know that this is wrong. And I know that if she does this to anybody else, it is my responsibility to make sure that it doesn't happen again. Because unfortunately, it has to the last 2 tenants of mine, of hers, and I didn't know that. But thankfully, since I did decide to dig, I did find that out. I did get information, and I believe that that's actually the biggest reason why she didn't pursue it in the first place. Was because I decided to learn. I decided to focus on who I was being in the moment. I decided to focus on who I was being during the problem, during the obstacle. And that's always going to be internal. Just because there's something outside of me I can't control, I can control what's going on inside of me. That's the real obstacle. It's not the actual obstacles outside of you. There's going to be so many that are going to make you feel anxious, that are going to make you feel stressed or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's like, who are you being as you walk yourself through this? Who do you want to be as you walk yourself through this? I am proud of the woman I was and the woman I am that walked myself through that stuff, that walked myself through that hardship, because I knew at the end of it, I was like, this is necessary and needed for me to up level. I know that this is the thing I wanted. I asked for this because I want to become a next level leader, because I want to become $1 million earner, because I want to become, I want to impact hundreds of thousands of people in my lifetime. I'm going to need to deal with things like this. And I want to show not only myself, but the universe and the energy that is, and the powers that be, that they just gave me, that I can fulfill the assignment, that I got this assignment on lock. And so that was my why. And so I walked myself through it, even though it was fucking hard, even though there were moments I was like, please don't read me the email, just tell me the gist of it and just let me hear a little bit of it, even though I cringed, and there was moments where I just couldn't even read it because I was just like so like, ugh, like it didn't seat me. Don't get me wrong, those are still moments in there, but I still walked myself through it in a way, in a level of leadership that I was like, yes, this is who I want to be. And I was connected to my future self. You know, and so I knew that either I deal with this lesson now or I deal with this lesson later. Either way, it's going to happen. So the real lesson is like how we deal with it internally, because it's going to continuously come up until we learn from it, especially if we're on the path toward that growth and alignment. So those are the 4 mindset shifts for making your tattoo business much more easeful. They're running your tattoo business easefully. So I hope you guys loved this episode. If you did, please give us a thumbs up in Spotify. Give us 5 stars. Give us comments and all that good stuff. Give us all the good love. And I will see you in the next episode.